Hello, hello. What's up? What's up? It is a new day, it is a new week, and it's time to get social. My name is KaVonna, and welcome to the Introvert's Social Hour. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Introvert Social Hour. Today, we are talking about finding harmony, specifically balancing work and passion. As you know, it's 2024. It's hard out here. Work-life balance is difficult in itself, but also just really connecting with yourself personally outside of work is a fight. So we're going to be talking about that. And today specifically, I brought my friend Joyce on because I feel like she does this so well, and I feel like she's really fighting to get there and like keeping that there. And so I really want y'all to hear her insights, and I'm going to be here taking notes too. So just in case y'all don't know Joyce, after graduating from UC San Diego in 2021, Joyce moved back to her hometown in San Francisco, California, where she began working full time in the corporate space. Eager to start her life post graduation, she dove into her work as a recruiter, where she found a career she was passionate about. While upholding this passion, she also realized that life is too short to always be thinking about the future and of work. She is now fueled by passion for travel and curiosity to understand how the world works. Joyce channels her resources into experiences that enrich her life, and she is learning how to strike a balance between seizing the present moment and planning for her long-term goals. Please welcome Joyce. Whoop whoop.
Hi everyone, super excited to be here today.
Yes, welcome back. Um, I want to kind of just like go and jump in. Can you share like a brief overview of your background and your approach to balancing work, passion, and well-being, just so the audience, the listeners have a perspective of who you are coming in?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually want to take you back all the way to my childhood since we're talking about my background.
Yeah.
I grew up in Mexico, for the first 11 years of my life, and my parents there had a Chinese food restaurant. So ever since I was young, I was always surrounded by people. And so when I immigrated from Mexico to San Francisco, California, at the age of 11, I started doing a lot of things that were just related to, still finding that fulfillment and, helping people. So, I joined many different student organizations. I helped create a couple, ever since middle school, right? So I continued that all throughout high school, and then I continued that all throughout college. And when I got to college, I was very lucky to have, some amazing mentors via some of the scholarship programs that I was a part of. And so they really emphasized to me, hey, you have to start thinking about your future. You have to start thinking about internships. And so for
Yeah.
me, I did not know what I wanted to do. So I started looking around. I knew that, I like doing things that involved, helping people and stuff. I thought about, maybe doing something in higher education. I thought about doing something within human resources. Um, and ultimately, I landed an internship with in the banking industry as a human resources intern. And I think
Mm,
that really just altered the course of my career by exposing me to a lot of things that, for me as a first generation low income student, had never really seen. It really exposed me to so much more of, what's out there in the professional field.
mm,
And so I continued my internship. I worked with that same company for 2 years as an intern, and then when I graduated, I was very, very privileged to be able to secure a full-time job with them
mm,
as a recruiting coordinator. So, still within the human resources space, more specifically within talent acquisition. And it's been now 3 years since I graduated, which it's a little bit crazy to think about. It's
mhm,
already been 3 years, right?
yeah,
I now work for a tech company as a recruiter. So that's a bit about me. In terms of my professional journey, in terms of, for me on why it's so important to have that balance between work and your passions and all of that, I think a big part of it was, I would say a quarter life crisis.
That's
When,
so true.
as I'm working, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people experience that in their mid 20s. I had
Yeah.
this crippling thought that oh my goodness, am I just going to work for the rest of my life?
Mhm.
Because again, well, once you graduate, you lose part of your community. And that's just
Yeah.
because people move away, people go back to their own hometowns.
Mhm.
And you suddenly go from having, a lot of access to your friends and your community to suddenly, right, like being back by
Yeah.
yourselves. And for a lot of people, that's the case. So for me,
Mhm.
that was my own experience. So I just realized that, oh, hey, I know that sacrifices, a lot of sacrifices have to be taken to get to a moment in someone's career, but part of it is
Mhm.
also, hey, don't forget that you're a human first, and you have
Yeah.
other things that don't involve a paycheck. And so for me, I think that's why it's so important, why I'm like a big advocate of doing that. I'm still learning
Yeah.
every single day how to do it. But I do feel like I'm getting stronger and stronger at being able to find that.
Yeah. Like that's so true though. I feel like quarter life crisis wasn't very much a thing until like I would say 2010s-ish,
Mm,
later 2010s-ish to now. And I feel like
mm,
that has so much to do with like the times that we're in. Um,
yeah.
which is so like and we'll dive into that because it is true. Like unfortunately the way specifically, if there anybody listening outside the US, but specifically for the US, it is kind of like you have to sacrifice
Mm,
in order to have a good job and a good career. Like it's so and that's unfortunate because um the way everything is built is work. And you
mhm,
really have to fight to be
mhm.
a person, you know?
Yeah.
And so I try to fight for that too. I think I came to that realization. I've always thought like that, but you don't realize you're getting engulfed in it until it
Mhm,
happens, right? And so when I moved out here to NYC and I started my first like full-time job as a teacher, I was so like, and as a teacher, you're also set up to work at home. Like you're there.
mhm,
For me, I was there for 9 hours a day, and I traveling was an hour and some change, and I still had to do work at home, then go to sleep or eat, and then do it all over again. And this was like this really vicious loop. And at some point, I was like, "What the heck did I come here for? Am I doing it? And how do we get there? How do we set it up?" And it was just like, and also once again, sometimes the workforce is meant to tire you out to you're not doing anything for
yeah.
yourself. But I was like, I know I'm tired, but how do I make sure I prioritize myself? Because that's probably going to set myself up better mentally. Like,
Mhm,
and that it's once again, it's a fight, it's a balance, and it's something that you learn over time. I feel like you have to learn it by your job as well. I feel like that
yeah.
changes as well. But yeah, we're gonna dive into that. I do want to know because you broke it down a little bit. But I want to know specifically at this point now, as you continue to fight for it, um, why prioritizing well-being is important to you, especially in the context of balancing work and passion. Like, for example, what are you doing when you're not working, and why are you prioritizing those things?
Yeah, I think for me, to give you some background, my first year that I was, a working professional, I basically forgot. Not necessarily forgot, but I put aside, I guess, my own identity in a sense, because I was so caught up in, hey, I just graduated, I really want to make it in this corporate setting, and stuff. And so once I started my new job, after I left my previous company, I started realizing that, oh, hey, again, like that whole thing that I don't just want to work. I want to make sure that, if I'm earning a paycheck, obviously, I have to pay my essentials and stuff, but I want to
Mhm.
make sure I'm treating myself. I think a
Mhm.
big part of why I need, anyone and everyone needs to find that work-life balance is, first of all, your own health. Whether that's your physical health, your mental health. For me, a big priority is my own physical health. I have high cholesterol, I'm pre-diabetic, I had low vitamin D, things like
Yeah.
that. Once you're going to see the doctor and stuff and you start realizing these things, it really takes a toll on you to be
Mhm.
working 8, sometimes 9, sometimes 10, sometimes 12 hours, on your
Mhm.
laptop because, in this digital world now, everything is
Yeah.
happening via computers for a lot of jobs.
Mhm.
Even if you're in person, you're still working on your computer. I mean, KaVonna, you're a teacher, right? Even though you're there with
Yep.
the kids, right? You're still on your computer.
Mhm. The work
Now,
assignments
yeah,
are on the computer. Very rarely is
exactly.
stuff on paper these days. Yeah.
Exactly. So it really takes a toll on you. So I think for me, it really woke me up to realize that, oh, hey, I really need to do more to start taking care of myself. I think that first year, my mental health was really not the best, because of the fact that, I had foregone part of my identity to throw myself into work. Now that was my identity. I
Mhm.
didn't have, the community that I was used to during my college years, so I think it was just hard to take care of myself in that way. So, once I, was a year and a half, after graduation, I was working. That's really, I feel like, when I start realizing that, oh, hey, um, we're not, at least for me, I'm not saving
Mhm.
lives here.
Mhm.
It's okay if this is not done tonight, or it's okay
Yeah.
if this can wait basically a couple more days.
Mhm.
So now I'm prioritizing for me, eating healthier, going to the gym, doing things that I enjoy. I've been thinking a lot about taking pottery classes, doing dance
Mhm.
classes, which is stuff that I
Mhm.
like doing. You know, going on museums, going little solo dates, things like
Mhm.
that, I think are just really good for your overall, well-being.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned like specific activities too. Um, in regards to when you made that decision that year and a half later after working, like I in quotes in the real world,
Yeah.
what impact were you noticing that was happening on your self-care and your mental health?
Yeah, I really want to tell you, KaVonna, I feel so happy. Like I genuinely, I don't know if like my dopamine is working overtime or something. Like these past couple of months, especially, I've just been, I think, that whole finding that work-life balance, I found this like newfound, I guess, like confidence in myself because I'm regaining that sense of identity that I like. I love doing art. I now enjoy doing Legos, things, and I know you do too. So I want to see your collection eventually.
Yes. I'll show you after.
Exactly. So, so just like building things, doing things with my
Mm.
hand, finding love for like a new show, new artists, going to concerts. It really has, inevitably it has given me that newfound confidence to just, I guess, like, I don't even know what sort of confidence, but in my personal life, my professional life, I just find myself when I'm talking to people that I'm just, just happier. And I just know basically, that I'm just not as afraid as I feel like, not afraid necessarily, but that social anxiety is not as there anymore compared to, that first year when I had moved back home.
Yeah.
I think too, like in my love life, right? Which is, I mean, with the viewers, right? Being fully transparent, it is non-existent, right?
Same
But
girl.
even then, I think, even then I think that it has given me this newfound confidence to, just to start putting myself out there a bit more. Because now I know almost, my worth outside of,
Mm.
having a professional career, which is what
Yeah.
I feel like the US, he kind of pushes on you. Even when you're a kid, people ask you, what do you want to do when you want to grow
Mhm.
up, right? Like things like that. It's really heavy in our culture. So I think I found like an identity outside of that, which has just been so rewarding. Like I have
Yeah.
truly been very happy all these like past couple of months. And I
Mm.
attribute that to being able to find that work-life balance, even though, again, some weeks are harder than others. But I
Mm.
think just having that newfound knowledge is has been very rewarding for me.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting though. I'm happy that you're happy. And I'm happy that you
Thank
found like that
you.
balance too. And like you said, like there's ups and downs to that too, but at least you know you have that resource for you to snap back into it whenever you know you're ready and you can. So that's awesome. Yeah.
It really
Um,
is a muscle that you have to train,
mhm.
which I feel like a lot of people don't realize, that a lot of people just think that work-life balance is just, they obviously, setting boundaries is a big aspect, but it's something that you have to keep up practicing to really be able to see like the long-term effects. It's not just like a 1 week type of thing.
Yeah. And ain't that the truth? Yes, that is so true. It's definitely yeah, it's yeah. Mm-mm-mm. I did want to talk about, you talked about a little bit, but can you share some of your favorite well-being practices and routines that help you stay grounded and energized amidst a busy schedule? I'm actually more curious, you talk because you talked about Legos and such, but like, do you have any routines more specifically, like for the
So
week?
I'm yeah, so I am I am a big fan of routine, but I think in these past couple of months, something that's really worked for me is listening to my body.
Okay.
In terms of what I want to do. And I think part of self-care too is realizing that that is not always going to the gym, going on activities. As
Mm-hmm.
introverts, this is the introvert social hour. I'm also an
Mm-hmm.
introvert, right? For me, self-care is being in my bed the entire day, my water next to me, some good snacks,
Yes.
watching a good show, reading a good book, right? That for me is self-care. I think
You
it
spoke to
looks
my
very,
soul.
yeah, exactly. And I think and I sometimes, for example, my older sister, she's a huge extrovert. She's always telling me, right, that like, oh, let's go do something this weekend. Like, why don't you want to go out? Blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want to. I
Mm-hmm.
simply do not want to do that because I am tired and my body is telling me to rot in bed for 12 hours. And I am
Yeah.
gonna do that. So while I love, having a routine and I try to stick with it, in terms of like the weekdays, if I'm hitting the gym, cooking, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also let myself have days that are I just do nothing because that for me
Yeah.
is self-care.
I'm so glad you said that, Joyce. Because and I want to ask you this too. Let me explain how my day went today. So
Mhm.
as I told you already, listeners out there, at this point I'm getting over a cold, but I knew I still went to work though. Like I still went to work this
Mhm.
week, because there were things that needed to be done. But there were times where I left early or came in late or whatever. But we have a show coming up, so I did what I had to do. And a lot of things dropped though. So I feel like for me, I was like, I haven't taken a dance class in about over a week at this point now. I haven't done my exercise goals that I said I wanted to do, or um I don't have what's the cooking plan for this coming up week. Like I today I didn't do anything other than lay down and read or fall back asleep. And so sometimes, and I'm curious of your thoughts on this, when you have those days, even though it's so needed, like do you sometimes when you're done with that day feel like, dang, I didn't do anything and I feel like I have so much more to do? Does that happen sometimes?
Oh, 100%.
How do you fight
I
that? I'm so
yeah.
curious because like, I'm just like, because then I'm like, no, but I know I needed that day, but it's like, oh, now I've lost a day. Like, but that day was needed
Yeah.
though. It's a fight. I don't know. Please tell me if you have any answers for that.
I think for me, yeah, it's for me, I used to have that so much. I will be honest, I had those same thoughts yesterday. It was Friday. I had a lot of work like for my job that I had to do, but I didn't do it because I was tired. I was feeling, I am currently feeling a little bit burnt out via work.
Yeah.
But that work-life balance is important. But again, you have those
Yeah.
setbacks and that's okay. But I had that same thought. I was watching my show and I could not get out of my head that I'm like, oh man, like I should really go do this now. But think about it.
Yeah.
Who is working at 8 p.m. on a Friday? The
No.
things can wait. Exactly. Things can wait, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's things like that. And I think it's part of it is deconditioning your brain. Here in
Yeah.
the US, big, big emphasis on the hustle culture ever since, especially in high school, if, people who are trying to
Mm-hmm.
get to college, you're just hustling and hustling and hustling. Same when you get to college, you're hustling, you're doing work,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing school, you're finding, probably internships,
Yeah.
stuff, it never stops. So I think for me, I used to feel some guilt when I would have those days where I'm just rotting in bed. But ultimately, hey, when I do get up, I cook a little bit, right? I maybe
Mm-hmm.
clean up a little bit. And I think that suits that conditioned brain that I have. But I think part of it is
Mhm.
also just realizing that it's okay to have those days. So I think that meant
Yeah.
shifting my mentality has helped a lot in achieving that
Mhm.
work life balance.
Yeah. I definitely it's like when you know that, like it's like I
Yeah.
know this is where my mental is, and then it's just like like you said, kind of like it's a training kind of thing. It's gonna
Yeah.
take months, weeks, etc. to get there, maybe even years to finally just be like, I had a rest day. Oh well, moving on, next day. Like time to get this done. Because I had talked about this too. Like there's always gonna be something to do. There's always gonna be something to do on your to-do list. Whether it's work, whether it's personal, there's always gonna be laundry because I gotta wear clothes. There's always gonna be dishes because I gotta eat. Like it's just a never ending list. And so I think sometimes it just has to be okay. Like the dishes can wait, laundry can wait. Like it's not going anywhere. you know. Um,
Unfortunately, not going anywhere.
Unfortunately, right. I wish I could
Yeah.
snap. If I had magic, listen,
Oh,
that would be the thing.
girl, I
Clothes
think
in the
about that
washer, clothes in the
every
dryer.
day. I
Yeah.
literally think about it every day.
Always, always. Um, so I am curious, in regards to pursuing like passion projects outside of, um, like just your 9 to 5 jobs. How do you make time for those passion projects while managing your professional responsibilities? And I am curious, would you say your buildup of TikTok is a passion project right now? Because I wanna shout you out. Go follow Joyce on TikTok.
Yes,
But
thank
would you
you.
say that is something that you're building up, also outside of or your regular 9 to 5?
Yes. So I will say I have not posted in a while.
You're on
Part of
vacation.
that has just exactly. I was on vacation, but then I think part of it was too it takes a lot of work. And sometimes I just don't want to do anything.
Mhm.
So, I think for your projects, yes, I'm trying to make it big on TikTok, very, very much a work in progress. But I think I realized that, well, I do a lot of doom scrolling sometimes on
Oh,
TikTok. Yeah, so I realized, oh hey,
yeah.
maybe I can start creating my own content. I know that
Mhm.
I'm a very artistic, creative person. I wanted to just start
Yeah.
trying out something new.
Mhm.
Something outside of my comfort zone to really break up routine. I think in terms of finding time, I'm still working on it. Because
Mhm.
again, you are working the whole day.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're just tired. You just don't want to do anything. So I think in those scenarios, I think to just creating things ahead of time or doing things where ahead of time where you can, like not just in
Mhm.
terms of content creation, but just like you like feeding yourself, for example, like doing meal prepping. I think that just really helps.
Mhm.
And kind of like deviating a little bit, but kind of still on topic. I think for me, I realized that whenever I would have those days that I'm just like super tired, I was not taking care of myself. I was eating trash, essentially, just whatever I
Mhm.
could find on my freezer, really having a true girl dinner. Some,
Okay.
just an apple
Yeah.
that I found here, right? Like some
Yeah.
chips, some chocolate, some almonds, right? Stuff like that. And ultimately, I think that contributed to me, just not being at my healthiest point.
Mhm.
So, what I found instead that works is having healthy things that are just reachable, that are on hand, that I can fall back on
Yeah.
and not have my body feel like crap. So I think part of it is also just prepping ahead to find time for all of these passion projects that you have.
That's so true too. s- I grilled dinner. Our girl snacked a little too hard today. That was me. It'd be like that though.
Yeah, it really
I
be.
It was something you said too in regards to doom scrolling. I also realized in aspect of that too, and it's too late. The thought is too late afterwards, but I'll be like, dang, I've been on TikTok for this long. At this point, I could have made a video.
Right,
Or at
right,
this point, I could have edited a podcast episode. Um, or at this point I could have done this and this or that or that. There's always options. Or I could have. The laundry. It could have been going.
right. I think
Um,
it's part of it
yeah.
is realizing, is that for your passion projects, you do have to be very intentional.
Mhm.
about anything that you want to do. And I think, KaVonna, you're really good at doing that. Like, especially with this things like this podcast, right? Like the stuff that you do with your theater work. I'm sure you have to
Mhm.
be very intentional about seeking out those opportunities, right?
Mhm.
So your passion projects are not just gonna occur. You have to be very thoughtful about the timing that it takes and stuff. And I think
Yeah.
what helped me realize that was just realizing, how much time I spend doom scrolling, how much time I spend just on my couch, just,
Mhm.
watching something. And again, it's nice to have those days, but at a certain point, if you're doing it every single time after work, every single weekend, that's a sign that you're maybe feeling burnt out, if you lose
Yeah.
suddenly interest in a lot of the things that you used to, want to do. So I think it's also, that's part of listening to your body as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I wanna say thank you for that. It's definitely it's a fight. I think last year, it was very much like, "I'm going in. YOLO." It was very much like, "I'm not overthinking it anymore. I'm just gonna jump. If it doesn't work out the way I wanted to at first, that's what it is." And I think this year is kinda like, "Okay, now that we've jumped, let's make things more intentional. How do we do that?" I, too, am also terrible with posting. I think my post could be a little bit more, intentional with, like, marketing and stuff. So if you're listening to the Introvert Social Hour right now, go share it with somebody. Thank you. Um, just things like that to get the word out there a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely a watcher versus a poster, but I'm
Mhm.
trying out here. As we talked about Legos, I dropped the ball. I became a Lego girly this year, and I should have been making Lego content like KaVonna.
Oh, yeah.
There's people out there who get free Lego boxes. I could have been doing
Mhm.
that. And I didn't even think about that at first, like, but now all my Legos are done, and I don't have money to buy more Legos, so we're just gonna have to wait it out for a second. Um, but those kinda things. So trying to be more intentional, um, with the podcast topics, etcetera. So thanks. We're working, we're trying. Um, I wanted to go into more about navigating professional success more specifically. I want to talk about how do you go about getting to that successful goal, whatever that is for you, while still also not overwhelming yourself in the work process, um and losing yourself, I would say, in the work process.
Mhm. I think a big part of it, and I want to preface, I want to make the disclaimer that, sometimes, again, that there will be sacrifices on your part. There will be weeks where you're working a lot, you will be overwhelmed,
Yeah.
but just keeping your long-term goal in mind, I think helps a lot. And then two, your company culture matters so
See.
much. It really, really does. I always like to bring this up. A lot of people don't talk about it, but the psychological safety when you're doing your work, it's literally I feel like it's one of the biggest indicators to your success to attain that goal. Because, part of that psychological safety is, telling your manager, telling your teammates that, oh, hey, I'm not feeling well. I won't be able to get to this until next week. Or part of it is
Mm.
telling, hey, I really don't have the capacity to do this right now. Can someone else take over? Being vocal
Mhm.
about that and being, I guess being able to do that is, a big, big thing. And I recognize that not everyone is able to experience a healthy work culture and a healthy balance.
Yeah.
Because,
Mhm.
ultimately, right, profits come first for any company. And I know
Mhm.
sometimes that sucks, but if you're able to do have that, absolute key. I think the second key to being able to attain your long-term goals while still, balancing your own personal life is having a supportive manager and team. A little fun fact, but a lot when people leave their jobs, a big part of it is because of their managers. They
Mhm.
they don't like their managers, they
I
don't.
believe it.
And not saying that that's the case scenario for everyone, but for a lot of people, they leave their jobs because they didn't have a good manager.
Mhm.
So really finding that support network and that mentor in your own company or in your job, that's really going to take you far. And I am saying this from a corporate perspective. I know there's many jobs
Mm,
out there where, this may not be as applicable, but from the corporate perspective, having a mentor who's, in a managerial position to
mm,
advocate for you. In my own experience, I've had an amazing manager, and she has really been the one that has advocated for me a lot and has helped
mm.
me land, the positions and the opportunities that I have today.
Yeah. No, I think that's so true though, because as you were saying those things, I was like, all of that could be applied to even teaching. Now I know
Mhm,
I work in a charter school system that does have a little bit more of a corporate feel at times, because there's a whole network involved in
mhm,
that. Um, but no, that's so true. Like if you have a not so great assistant principal who is not gonna
mhm,
vouch for you when you're, advocating for yourself or, notifying problems, period. That's happened to
exactly.
me before. And I was like, I'm ready to dip out right now.
Mhm,
I was like, I'm ready to go right now. Cause what do you mean? Like, and I think that once again connects to psychological safety. If I am walking on pins and needles around you, I'm not
mhm,
comfortable. Like, so just things like that. I remember it was very much like that in the beginning when I switched over to being a dance teacher, just because the management system was different.
mhm,
Um, and then this year is way smoother for me. I feel like I'm also more confident and like I know I do my job. You can't tell me I don't because I've proven it now to you. Because when you switch tools, you have to. It's a whole new system in place. So I have reproven it to you, to a new set of people, and there's pretty much like I feel like there's a level of confidence that comes with it too. It's like with that psychological safety, the confidence of you've set your reliability in place.
mhm.
So it's like if I
Right.
say I can't get this done at this time, I'm eventually going to get it done though, kind of thing. Um,
Exactly.
so I'm glad that you mentioned that. I didn't even think of like the term psychological safety, but that's so true of
Yeah.
managers. And I really do think this could be applied pretty much anywhere. Like truly whoever you have to go to, whoever is your person, direct person, whether it's a manager, assistant principal, or a supervisor, whatever that is, if they're not a good support system, it's just
Right.
not it. Because you want to feel safe in your job.
Mhm,
Yeah.
exactly. I think a big part of it is that, I think in some spaces, right, like it tends to be very competitive where, right, like people are basically fighting for a promotion. People are doing this and that, but it really, it you need your community to get to whatever point in your life you want to be in. It
Mm-hmm.
really takes a village, because you can't do it by yourself, even though sometimes some roles basically pit us against one another, right? You need the
Yeah.
support of your teammates, you need people that will advocate for you, you need mentors. So I think really building those connections in whatever job you're in, I think that really makes a big difference in being able to, get to wherever you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And then on top of that, as you just said too, it's not even just managers sometimes, like the culture. Like
Hmm.
literally what you said. I've had bad cases of like bad coworkers.
Yeah,
Like that messes it up even if the manager is still decent, like, you know. So
totally agree.
that is so true. I 100% agree with that, and I'm so glad you mentioned it because that really will make or break a lot of people in certain jobs. Um, in regards to, I want to move on to we talk so if y'all have listened to Joyce's travel episode, go check that out. But if you haven't, we talked a bit about what travel looks like and then also enjoying your life. Um, not feeling necessarily stuck in one place, right? I feel like when there is a routine of I'm getting up, I'm going to work, or whether if you work up at home at certain points, I get up, I get on my laptop. There's just like a certain routine that people get stuck in.
Mhm.
And I know it is a big part of your life as far as like making sure you really enjoy your life and it's not just
Mhm.
about work. Um, so how do you incorporate travel into your work-life balance and what role does it play in your overall well-being as well?
Yeah, I think so. I'm very privileged to actually, have a job that I travel for.
Mhm.
So life hack, and if anyone out here is
Right.
listening, find a job that will pay for your travels.
Right.
Obviously, I've had a lot of my personal vacations, but I've been able to
Mhm.
see a lot of new places that I never would have been to, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, like Maryland, like Baltimore,
Mhm.
Maryland. I know it's a really big city, but I would have never gone there for a vacation on my own, right? But
Yeah.
I went there for a conference not too long ago for work.
Mhm.
And so, again, life hack. If anyone is able to do that, I think that's how I'm able to incorporate it because, obviously
Mhm.
work does come first when you're traveling. But
Mhm.
at the end, in the evening, if you have time, go out for a nice dinner,
Mhm.
I always make sure to look up what's around me in whatever hotel I'm staying and either make time that day that I'm flying in, because that typically travel dates, you don't have a lot planned, so I make the time
Yeah.
to just walk around, get a feel of the city. So for me, that's how I'm able to balance it because, well, traveling for work is very fun. It is also super exhausting, because
Mhm.
your physical body is, traveling, but on the laptop, on your computer, the work doesn't stop. It is still
Exactly.
happening. Your teammates who are still on the ground, right?
Mhm.
They have questions, they have things that they need, and all
Yeah.
of that. In terms of my personal vacations, I always make sure to time it um during off seasons for me for work where I know I won't be as busy,
Mhm.
because I think that just helps me in my, in that mental state that I can,
Mhm.
hey, it's okay for me to take time off during this time because, I feel like I'm not, there's not many projects that my team will need help with or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think timing is really key, on top of finding, and I think it comes as a bonus if like the destination that you're going to is also during its off season. I think just finding a balance between all of that. I think, yeah, like travel is a big part of my life. It really breaks up the monotony of, is that the word right? That's the word, right? Monotony.
I trusted you on it. Legit.
Okay, okay, something like that, or yeah, like
Where's our
the
ELA major friends?
everyday.
English
Exactly.
majors. Yeah.
So the everyday routine, I really want
Mhm.
to make sure that I'm incorporating some sort of getaway anytime I have
Yeah.
some leeway, or or yeah.
Okay. I I want to say you were the first person that made my brain go bing, 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 like job traveling. What? Because when
Yeah.
you visited me in New York, I was like, wait, she's kind of like living.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
because I do see the fact of like, okay, work doesn't end though. Like it's still present, but also at the same time, I think what's really nice about it is it gives you a different headspace of work though.
Yeah.
Like I get to work, but now I'm in a new place. Like I don't know. I just feel like that's also a very different vibe. It gets you out of that regular routine, but while you're still, on the job. I feel like that's nice. Um,
Exactly. I mean,
so
big hack right there,
mhm,
yeah, I've been very, very blessed to be able to go across, like, just to so many new areas in the
mhm,
US, through my work. And it's, at the end of the day, there are sacrifices that you have to take, right? Because, like missing out on someone's birthday, like things like
yeah,
that, it's just, like a trade-off type of thing. But there
mhm,
are many jobs out there that will fly you out, somewhere, at least somewhere throughout your
yeah.
time there.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of like definitely, finding that opportunity and a bit of luck too.
Yes, that's true too. Because they are out there and they do have random variety too. Like it's not just one specific kind of job, whether it's in talent recruiting stuff. Because I know even my mom, she has like random opportunities to like go. They haven't come up yet because once again, like, like as you said, like COVID hit and things changed around and stuff like that. But they are coming up now. So yeah, I think it's also, like you said, a great opportunity to check out other places. There's so many states I haven't been to yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I
yeah,
add too? I know you
yeah.
mentioned your mom, right? Like, like once things get settled in her company, if she's able to
Hmm.
travel, tag along with her. If you as a listener or person, if you don't have that job, like sort of job, find
Mhm.
friends that do, because I will say, for I had the chance to go to New York, as you know, KaVonna, and we visited
Mm.
and everything. Actually, my
Yeah.
sister and brother-in-law tagged along.
Mhm.
Obviously, they paid for their own flights and
Yeah.
everything, but I had a hotel room, and I
Mhm.
was able to request two beds. So bam,
Yeah.
that's housing covered. I had a
Mhm.
bit of a food stipend that I
Yeah.
was able to like help, cover some expenses for them.
Mhm.
Not obviously not everything, but
Yeah.
you know, if you're able to find friends that do that, or like family members, hey, tag along, book your own flight and then, go enjoy
Mhm.
the city with them.
Seriously, life hack. There you go.
Yeah, life
That's
hack
so true.
indeed.
One day, Joyce, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, I'm coming to the Bay for a conference."
Exactly. And we better go out for lunch or dinner.
Oh, 100%. You already know.
Uh,
I'm contacting. Oh, I do love the advice you gave for that because, like I said, it wasn't certain things that I thought about. And even like those life hacks, travel hacks as well too. Um, in regards to like reflecting, I want to talk about like what are the most valuable lessons you've learned so far, and maybe you're still learning and still working through. I am curious if there are any specifically for that. Um, but ones that you're working through or you've learned about in regards to balancing work, passion, and well-being. Um, more specifically now. Yeah, I'm more curious now. Like, are there any that you're still kind of like flip-flopping around? And if not, what ones have you kind of like figured out that we haven't talked about yet?
Hmm. I think we've talked about a lot of them, but I
Mhm.
think to, I guess, expand on my point,
Mhm.
making things accessible and easy for yourself, I feel like that's how you're going to be able to achieve work-life balance. Like removing
Yeah.
obstacles. Like, for example, for me, as an example, a big thing was eating healthier. And again, a big obstacle for me was that I was just tired. I didn't have the time to cook and make things from scratch. So
Mhm.
now I thought, okay, how can I remove those obstacles from my life to make it easier for myself? And I bought an air fryer not too long ago. And that has made my life so much
Love air
easier because I
fryer.
could just pop something in, that little basket, bam,
Mm-hmm.
and then, I go take a shower maybe, I, do a little bit of cleanup, bam, food is ready.
Yeah.
Instead of having to take out my pots and pans, like burning my salmon, burning my
Mm-hmm.
steak, things like that.
Yeah.
Also, just the groceries that you buy, in terms for me, for my goal of eating healthier, the groceries that you buy, stuff that won't expire as quickly, or like go bad as
Mm-hmm.
quickly. Or finding ways to preserve that because, a big obstacle for me was also that I was just tired to go to the grocery store because I don't have a
Mm-hmm.
car, so I would have to take the bus there. Okay, so what
Yeah.
obstacles can I remove from my life to make that accessible? And part of it is just finding ways to make your food last longer, meal prepping, freezing things, something as easy as like garlic. Freezing that, makes a big difference. Now my food has more flavor and
Mm-hmm.
so stuff like that is just finding ways to make things accessible, and
Yeah.
removing those obstacles that, that may hold you back from attaining your goal.
Yeah, I want to emphasize the time management thing because I feel like it's talked about so much with work, but it's so important with like personal life, and I forget that a lot. So I would say that's one of the things I struggle with now of like being smarter about my time.
Yeah.
Um, like, ooh, I should have done this first because that could be going while I'm
Mhm.
doing this, and like kind of how you mentioned like air fryer, and then I hop into the shower, kind of
Yeah.
thing. I try to be smart about that sometimes. Like, okay, let me preheat the oven now. Let me go do something else while the oven's preheating, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but sometimes like it's just like go mode too. So then I don't
Yeah.
think the best in regards to what should have been first or last or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, I want to say I struggle a bit with consistency.
Yeah.
Um, I'm better in, like you said, better in some months than others. Um, this has latest month or so has been more of a struggle, consistency wise. How I try to keep myself accountable. I do like my bingo sheets for so I usually do yearly bingo sheet. This year I've started to do monthly bingo sheets, so trying to follow up and keep track on that. But also looking back at my yearly bingo sheet to see if there's certain things I should be doing on a to-do list to get to a bingo on there or bingo square on there. To-do lists, kind of like Sunday reflections, sometimes Friday reflections. I talked to my therapist about that. She was like, "Yeah, maybe you should do Fridays instead." So then like you have the rest of your weekend to figure out how you're gonna go about things. But I would just say, yeah, that. But like you said, it's hard because every week is different. So
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't the busiest week, but maybe I wasn't the busiest week because the week before was so busy. And so I'm super pooped out this week. So I still didn't really do anything that I really wanted to do, even though I had the time back, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that happens quite a bit because I'll be like, Friday's already here. What the heck did I do with my week? What did I do
Same.
when I got home? Because I know I had time. I didn't go take a class. So where was I at? But
Hmm.
sometimes you are just kind of pooped.
Yeah.
And that's so true. But as of late, I've been trying to make sure I tap back into certain things. Um, I just want to mention like I acknowledge it's hard, and you talked about it. I acknowledge it can be difficult for people who don't have those extra funds to be able to kind of indulge. How we talked about like Legos or like trips and things like that. Certain things that I do um when I am low on funds and such. If I can, I buy like the cheaper Legos. So like I love me a good postcard Lego. Those are like 14.99. They
That's
have like
cute.
9.99 Legos. They're small and effective as well. I have like a few. Then they're just cute to like put around I gotta show you the collection after. And then
Yes. Please.
books. I love reading books. If you go on Libby, as long as you have a free library card, you could read your books. Those are my escapism places as well. So if you're book readers, that's a free resource more specifically. If you but sometimes, people say like, oh, it's like watching TV. But like sometimes like literally like letting yourself just kind of dive into a world, a movie or TV show, it really is a form of self-care. So like YouTube is always a free resource. My go-to like feel good like YouTube. I love Watcher with, like Ryan and Shane. I love
Oh yeah.
watching their oh my gosh, Ghost Files. And then also
Hmm.
previously BuzzFeed Unsolved. I go back
Yeah.
to the BuzzFeed Unsolved episodes as well. Because those are always just like a fun time. Like just like if when I know I need a laugh, those are where I go to.
Yeah.
Um, for sure, for sure. So they do exist. Sometimes, ooh, even just taking a walk. I
Exactly.
think sometimes this was something that got this was a last year note, like getting so wrapped up in work. Like, so did you just take a walk and take a breath?
Hmm.
Like you walk around the school, but you just take a walk. So sometimes even at work, I'm like, I need to get out of this building. I'm gonna take a walk around the neighborhood. And I
And
go and take a
yes,
walk.
as you should.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just those little things. So but it's very possible to, I know it can feel like it's like, dang, I want to be able to do this and I didn't. I want to be able to do that. But for listeners out there too, it's definitely possible to like regroup your brain as well and take care of yourself in other
Yeah.
ways. And even in regards to pursuing passion projects, whatever those look like, I say go and like make that to-do list and that start and then make a plan. You can always financially plan for it too, whether that's saving $1 a day or things like that. So
I think
it's
too,
difficult, but
yeah.
it's possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. A good tip is also, I feel like Facebook groups are very underrated.
Mm,
There's so many Facebook groups out there and on Facebook Marketplace too. Obviously,
hmm.
be critical about, who you're contacting, but
Yeah,
there,
there's some scammers out there.
exactly. There's a lot of scammers, but if you like doing Legos, but I know Legos are very expensive,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
There could be people out there that are selling their collections because they want to declutter, and so you can get it for cheaper,
True.
right? There's
Mm,
many buy nothing type of groups on Facebook. I'm part
mm,
of some here in that are local here to the Bay Area.
mm,
And a lot of people give out really cool things, not
mm,
obviously it won't be sometimes it won't be exactly what you're looking for, but even
yeah.
if you can find one thing in that group and you can get that from that person, that's already a
Mm,
form of escapism, right? You can, and then you
yeah.
can give it back to the community, right? If you just want to use it for a while, and then you can always re-gift it or something, things like that. There's
Yeah.
many. things out there that people sometimes, they're looking to rehome. So take advantage of that. And Facebook groups are amazing. I mean, I'm part of a
Mhm.
couple, gals who sweat that are for like fitness, right? I'm part
Yeah.
of air fryer recipes, summer
Yeah.
travel, things like that. You can actually learn a lot from these groups.
I need to get on my Facebook
Yeah,
game.
yeah, a lot of, I think with the newer generations, Facebook is not as used. But
Yeah.
KaVonna, you and I, we grew up in the generation of Facebook, right? Which
Mhm.
is what everyone always used, even in college. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we used, to get the word out about events and stuff. So
Mhm.
those communities still exist. So highly, not to market and plug in Facebook, but
Right.
they do have some gems somewhere.
Yeah. Right, like not a sponsor. LOL.
Yeah.
I yeah, you're so right. I'm gonna look into that a little bit more. Yeah,
Please.
because I don't really use Facebook like that. I am in some groups, but even then, sometimes it could like they're not really as helpful. So I feel like I
Right.
could there's some helpful groups out there that I could probably tap into for sure, for sure. You're right.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea. I'm gonna tap into that. I'm gonna look up some. I'm gonna ask you after too. What kind of groups? Maybe they're
Yeah.
like some New York equivalents out here. Um, well, that finalizes our conversation today, Joyce. I feel like it was very helpful and like eye-opening to certain things. It's good to know that like these are personal struggles that you're the only one going through. Like this is a very common thing. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, especially like maybe there are some things that we said that somebody can, take. And then maybe there's also some things that if you're listening right now and you want to share, please do, because I would love to get more tips. Because as we've talked about, it's an up and down journey for sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Um, but once again, thank you so much, Joyce, for joining and talking with me today about this topic.
For having me.
We're, yeah, of course, we're on the journey to making sure our personal lives are prioritized first. And I'm so excited to see what that looks like. Once again, make sure you follow Joyce on TikTok. So go ahead and follow the Introvert Social Hour as well, because that's how you're gonna find Joyce on TikTok. It's gonna be popping. By the time this comes out, followers galore, right?
I hope so.
Thank you for listening to the Introvert Social Hour. Make sure you share it with a family member, a friend, a loved one. You can follow me at KaVonna on Instagram and at the Introvert Social Hour on TikTok. Once again, make sure you're sharing, liking, all of the above to get this out to more people. Um, you're gonna get more topics. I do want to like emphasize that there's a lot of topics we do talk about, whether it's about life, books, movies, etc. You're gonna get a lot from me every week, and then also get to talk with different people every week, like Joyce. So it's a really exciting time here. So make sure you subscribe and come back again next week. This has been the Introvert Social Hour. Get some sunshine, get some air, have an amazing week. And I will see you next week on the Introvert Social Hour. Bye.